Now I'm going to get into my specialty, which makes me a startup guru, lean startup. As I said, it was invented around 2008 in Silicon Valley by the man in the top picture, Steve Blank. He was a godfather of lean startup, never graduated from college, but when he got out of the Air Force as a techie, he went to work in Silicon Valley. And he started 5 startups himself, 3 of which went public. And if you know how much you can make with a successful public offering, he made a lot of money. And then he went into sharing with other people, writing the book on the bottom called The Owner's Manual and 4 Steps to the Epiphany. 4 Steps to the Epiphany documented customer development, which is really what Lean Startup does. The guy on the lower right was a student in his first class at Berkeley, a great university because I went there. Eric Reese is his name. And Eric was required to come to his first class because he approached Steve to help him in his tech business when he started in Silicon Valley. And Steve agreed to help, but he had to come take his class to get his help. And it became a bestseller. The Lean Startup sold better than Steve's customer development book because, I guess the title, but it really is more inside a corporation design sprint more than it is outside a corporation. Use my Lean Startup more in this area. The Lean Startup is using a feedback loop called methodology feedback, and you can see it go clockwise and build, test, rebuild or calculate, and repeat the loop. Here you'll see where it's testing a thing called the minimum viable product. It's nothing more than a hypothesis. You want to come up, if you're building a product, something that resembles it, even if it's a video or a kind of a test piece of carpentry. That's why I prefer service. Doing a hypothesis and a test product is easier with a service than it is with a product. But you want a minimum viable product or hypothesis to start through the loop. And here's the famous business model canvas. If you're my student, you're going to come to live in it. It's not complicated. There are only 9 blocks, and we'll go through them in detail. But basically, the one in the middle, number 1, the value proposition, interacting with the one on the far right, the customer segment or your market, they are the key. Together, they interact and form what's called the product-market mix. And the product-market mix is key. We could spend a month getting all the teams in the classroom in a semester, getting right and having the right fit that sort of meshes, and one helps the other. The product helps the market helps the product, and feeds back. In fact, if it's so well matched, the customer can suggest new products that create new customer segments. But essentially, their interaction is the key to this canvas. And you want to start with either one. You can start with an idea or a product and then find your target market. Or you can start with a problem that a customer segment has and find your solution, which becomes the value proposition. Evidence-based design is what is the key to Lean Startup. I touched on it in marketing. Customer development requires a person to go out and interact with people that are going to buy your product. You know who they're going to be, and you do enough to find one that you have a rapport with. And trust me, if you do enough, 1 out of 3 or 4 is going to hit it off with you, and you're going to be able to talk to them. And that means interact, make them your friend. And you'll go back to them more than 2 or 3 times to get their opinion about things. That's called customer development. And I give you this slide. It's going to become gold to you as you get into the process. Because teaching people Lean Startup, a student would come back repeatedly. Okay, yeah, but what do I ask? I got the rapport. And so we had to develop the questions for them to use. And eventually I found a guy in New York who blogs down at the bottom. His name is Mike Fishman. He's a blogger in New York City, and there's his website, the ultimate list for customer development. And believe me, you'll use it. What does success look like in your role? What was hard? How did you solve that problem? Where do you hang out online? Can I introduce you to a few people like you? These are just starters. And Mike Fishman's site will spoon feed you the questions you use after you develop this good relationship with 1 out of 4 or 5. Keep going till you have it with someone that's going to buy your product. Customer development works. It's the secret to success, and that's why Lean Startup made business planning obsolete. Trust me.